Hey there, everybody. Welcome to our new edition of Big Brother 23 live feed spoilers. Now sponsored by Math, because apparently the show is going to make us do that with this new BB Bucks twist.
My favorite.
Okay. We've got some thoughts on this high rollers room. We'll talk about the eviction of Christian, the new HOH, the nomination ceremony just completed. There's a lot going on here in a very little amount of time.
Yeah, so just to sort of recap, Christian is gone. He was evicted last night. Goodbye. Yep. I get it. He's a really big competitor. He was going to have to go sooner rather than later. And now he is gone.
Yeah.
And now the new HOH is Kylan. So
Yeah.
Kylan is now also kind of becoming a bigger target. This is another big win for him.
It is it's an interesting season in terms of perception and targets and how you can be perceived as this big target just by winning a couple of little things. And I think it's also how you handle that power. Do you go full Frenchie and get the biggest case of HOH-itis imaginable?
Yeah.
That is all things to be considered here. And I think for Kylan, what makes this win a little bit hairy is that, number one, I don't know if it's necessarily one he needed to win right now. And number two, it seems like he tried to throw it to Tiffany and it just didn't work.
Yeah, and it's a risk for Kylan because Tiffany could have gone after Sarah Beth, which is someone that Kylan does not want to go. But it ended up in his own lap anyways. And then, we did end up seeing a little bit of fallout where Azah felt like she was getting chosen over and over and over again by Kylan, so she's a little pissed off. And we've seen that before where people get really pissed off, where it's that type of Q&A HOH where, the last person gets to pick the next people coming up.
This is my just vision in my head of production every time they get to do this HOH. Because they're just like, great, we can get people to turn on each other.
Yep.
I mean, clearly we've got a dominant 6-person alliance here. I'm sure they wanted something like this so that there would be some hurt feelings.
Yeah, for sure.
I just think if you're Azah, I understand being upset about this. But
yes, I understand.
I also just think she's got to remember that the idea here is to not have this alliance be public. And if he's not spending that much time with her in the house just on a day-to-day basis, I think it would look kind of weird for people that are like, well, why isn't Kylan ever putting Azah up there to answer any questions?
I think putting her up once is enough. It shows that you're non-aligned to putting her up there. But if you're kind of railing on her and putting her up over and over and over again, I would see that could actually start to fracture stuff where she kind of she already kind of feels like she's on the bottom of this alliance. Having Kylan do something like that, it's only going to make her more sort of just feel fractured from it, which isn't great because she's already feeling that way. And with Derek F and Brittany, where they're kind of getting closer, it's not great for Kylan in that way.
We're going to talk about the twist here in just a second because
Yes.
it's going to have big implications, I think, in terms of how Kylan's thinking about nominations and the like. But before we do, you see there's that subscribe button there, and you don't have to be a high roller in order to hit that. There's no risk. It's just all reward. You get videos from us talking about Big Brother all the time, and of course we don't want you to miss any of those.
Thank you to everyone who has subscribed and has been with us for all our Big Brother coverage this season.
Okay, so this high rollers room, the first thing I gotta say about this is it's too fire tokeny to me for those of you who watch Survivor and kind of got a sense of how that twist worked.
Yep.
Okay, here's how it's supposedly working here. America is voting on BB Bucks, which, by the way, that just makes me think of Shroot Bucks.
I know.
You get a BB Buck. Okay, now see, you get some Shroot Bucks depending on how America votes for you and how popular you are. You get more BB Bucks, and that you can then use these to go and compete in these different games over the next few weeks with some various powers that are sort of assigned to them.
Yeah, assigned to them.
Okay, so
Listen, I always have felt, and we'll get into a little bit of production talk, so
yeah.
if you don't want to hear, be like this for just a second, we've seen this before where there was like the reverse power or whatever it was, and it just felt like what it actually did
Yeah.
was attached to it depending on who got it, because it was very convenient that
Yeah.
like people you wanted to see get the bigger powers got them, and the people who got them that had already so much power in the house got like a nothing power attached to it. So I'm kind of wondering if it may play out the same way. Maybe it's a coincidence, maybe it's not.
This is a real chin scratcher here, and I think the real reason why it is, and why your line of logic is probably correct, is that when they tried to explain these a little bit yesterday, it just felt like they were very, very vague, because it's like, okay, you can take someone off the block, I guess take yourself off the block, you can have a second veto, which doesn't actually feel that different than the first thing, and then there's the power to flip power in your favor. I have no idea exactly what that means.
It's real vague. And again, it can be something that, depending on who wins it,
Yeah.
they can kind of change what this really is going to be. Flip power to your favor? That's real vague. That can be anything.
It really can be. That's
That
why...
could be like, oh, Claire, you get 20 votes. You get all the votes. Nobody else is voting but just you. Like, it can really be anything.
Like, I was trying to think in my head of, like, who's a really boring house guest that they would give a really terrible power to, and unfortunately, and I hate to say this, I know you're out of the house, don't come for me. If Travis was still in the game, it would be like, Travis, you have the power to, maybe you get to have one person's extra vote in a vote that was going to be otherwise unanimous, and it is going to be a complete waste of time.
Exactly. It is vague enough that if they wanted to make it, like, super, super powerful, like the coup de Jeff from many seasons ago, where it's just overpowered, they can do that depending on who wins it.
Justice for Jesse. Don't worry, Jesse. You live on in the form of our plant.
That's right.
Okay, but the last thing is just I don't mind America voting here or there. Like, that's not my primary issue with this twist. It's that I don't want to have to keep track of, like, who's got however many BB bucks, who's competing in what thing to try to risk getting a power. It's just, like, it's going to turn into us. We always have these notes that are over here that occasionally we look at when we were. It's going to make it into where we're having to basically look at the notes all the time, because it's going to be really hard to remember who has what when.
It's true. At least there's only 3 powers. It could have been a lot messier.
Oh, yeah, this could have been Survivor winners. They go full Survivor winners at war. Who's getting the jar of peanut butter that
That's
they're going to be using for the veto?
That jar of peanut butter was very valuable.
Yeah, I think I made fun of that jar of peanut butter for
did.
like 2 weeks, and I ended up getting the peanut butter all over my face.
It was valuable, lots of protein. When you're eating, it's eating good.
Presumably, I think some of this stuff may happen a little bit later. Hopefully, by tomorrow, we'll actually kind of understand a little bit of it more.
Yep.
We'll get into the path now to the nominations, because I think for Kyland, all of this is messy, given that I think he would have rather Tiffany won this HOH. He had to find himself scrambling really, really quickly because nominations were early. He had less time to even make a proper decision.
Yeah, I mean, it seems that he tried his best to give it to Tiffany. It just didn't work out. But in the end, I do think that he has a better opportunity being HOH because, yeah, like I said, I think Tiffany may have tried to get out Sarah Beth, and, that's somebody that's important to Kylan to keep around.
Yeah, of course, Sarah Beth is not even on his radar at the moment. He thought through a lot of different names as to people he could go back and forth on it. Well, it's not like past weeks where I think there was just like an absolute set target from the get-go.
Yeah.
He thought about Brittany. He thought about Alyssa. I'm going to spew a little fire here with the hot take. Just imagine some fire coming out there. Okay, he should have just gotten rid of Brittany because we have pointed out, we've talked about it already. The Jokers are getting closer. They're getting much closer. And do you want to run the risk that down the road, Azah decides that she would rather have Brittany in the game than you?
I think it just gets a little bit, it's such a hard position for Kylan to be in, because if he goes after Brittany, after he just brought up Azah over and over again, she's already pissed off with him.
Yeah.
Then you get rid of Brittany, who everyone knows Azah is close to. Now you've just made an enemy here. And Azah, if she wins next week, Kylan would definitely be in trouble. So I think he's just in a really hard position with that.
Okay, well, you may not have pissed off Azah, Kylan, with this, but you know who you have pissed off? You pissed off me. Like I like you, Kylan, but you made me really mad now because you put up Claire on the block, and it feels like Claire is actually your target. This is my winner pick. I cannot lose my winner pick this early in the game. What little ego I have is going to be fractured by this, Kylan.
Yeah, it's tough because Claire has been playing a decent game. You know, she hasn't like won a bunch of stuff or anything like that, but she has made some very strong connections in this game. So, you know, it is going to suck to have to see her go, but she is somebody who could be pretty dangerous.
I don't like it. I don't like it. Well, okay, I get it. I should say it that way.
I don't like it either, but I get it.
Yeah, like she is a very smart player. I think
Yeah.
if you're sort of looking around and being like, okay, who out of the people in the house are going to be most likely to potentially figure out the cookout, I think she's probably pretty high on that list.
Luckily, Derek X did not end up on the block.
Yeah, like it's
Like, I was kind of curious after his HOH if someone was, whoever won the HOH was going to be like, okay, listen, Derek X, he be winning a lot of stuff. He's got to go. Like, this might be a problem. But keeping him around, it's the right decision. I mean, Derek X has a lot of wins.
Yeah.
And for Kylan, if he gets rid of Derek X, now Kylan is the person with the bunch of wins.
interesting twist here. He did nominate a Derek alongside Claire. It just so happened to be Derek F, who, this is going to be really hilarious to me, that what if, like, even just being up as a pawn is the thing that suddenly makes Derek F, like, wake up and actually start, like, getting really hard in this game.
If that's what happens, then that is great. Because, you know, watching someone kind of just float through the game,
Here's what makes this whole nomination process a little bit sort of weird, is that Claire initially talked to Kylan before the nomination ceremony even happened, and he sort of floated out there already to her the idea of her being a pawn, and of course, like any smart Big Brother player would be, nobody wants to be like, yeah, that sounds like a great idea, I'll be a pawn.
yeah, she was kind of like, lukewarm,
Yeah.
not that interested.
It's like and then they just start talking about potential pawns in general, and she like brings up Derek F as like an ideal perfect pawn, and so now she's on the block with her own suggested ideal perfect pawn. Like Claire's no dummy, and you know we came on here just after the ceremony happened, but Claire's got to know that she is the target now, and there's no real reason to even doubt it.
Absolutely. She's got to know that she's in trouble. But there is, you know, the veto still, this BB Bucks twist.
Yeah.
I guess we'll see how that ends up playing out, if really anything. But at least there's still veto. There's still her wiles and be able to, like, talk her way out of this. Maybe.
Here's my theory for this is not a hot take. I'm not putting myself out on a limb with this.
All right.
I feel like one of the people who's going to get the most BB Bucks is going to be Derek X, hands down. I think people love him. We love him. I think he still has a little bit of that underdog status because he's not in the big alliance.
Yeah, he does. He's been winning a lot of stuff, but he doesn't really have a lot of allies. He has a couple, and people like him all right,
Yeah.
but he is not part of that big alliance, so he is in trouble. Yeah, if anyone, I think Derek X is, and I've seen there's lots of other Derek X fans out there besides us. I think he's going to have a pile of them.
Yeah,
I almost called them tokens.
Oh, no.
Oh, no.
It's okay. It's
Fire
okay.
tokens.
It's all the same thing.
Yeah.
The Scrooge McDuck image of him just swimming and all the BB Bucks is going to happen. But Kylan's going to do a little bit of damage control, by the way, with Derek X already, because he's kind of confused about the nominations. He thinks he's close with Kylan and Claire, and it's sort of like, if you're close with these people, why is Claire up? Why is Claire also up against Derek F, who nobody really takes seriously in the game at all?
Yeah, he's got to really have some sort of explanation or pretend backdoor plan, or even some sort of a plan if either one of them come off the block, where he could be like, see, I told you all along it was this person.
By the way, Kylan's still wearing the donkey outfit. I just want to throw that out there, that he is HOH and making all these moves while still dressed like that. So there you have it.
Yep.
All right, we'll tie everything up here. We will be back to discuss Veto. Hopefully we'll have a little bit more clarity on the High Rollers room. See, you shouldn't even just call it the High Rollers room because I keep forgetting that already.
It's just BB bucks.
Yeah.
It is fire tokens. We are here for it.
That's fine. Let's just call it that. Are you guys thumbs up, thumbs down on the BB bucks? If you voted, we just want to know who did you give some BB bucks to?
Yeah, tell us if you did actually vote. Let's hear it.
Yeah, so tell us, and while you're telling us, subscribe and also check out our Instagram at Matt and Jess TV. Get some fun stuff going over there. Thank you guys so much. We'll see you here next time.